Hello, and welcome to our webinar on the business of acupuncture. Today's webinar is Safely Naming Your Practice. The webinar has an audio and a video component. If you can't see the presentation or hear it, please refer back to your call and email and start over. In the course of the webinar, you will not be able to speak to the presenter. If you have any questions, please submit them through the webinar portal. All questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar. The webinar will be recorded. If you see or hear something that you need to refer back to, we will make the recording available after the completion of the webinar. The webinar will not be edited, so if you see something or hear something and you do need to refer back to it, it will be exactly as you heard it or saw it. Today's webinar is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. If you have any questions about the information presented or the application to your practice, please seek the advice of a qualified professional or your attorney. My name is Mark Guymond, and I will be your presenter today. Okay, so what is the purpose of the webinar series on the business of acupuncture? Well, there's the practice of acupuncture, and then there's the business of acupuncture. And we are trying to bifurcate the two in two separate areas. The practice of acupuncture involves needling, evaluation, analysis, all of the processes and procedures of acupuncture itself. The business of acupuncture is everything that you have to do to engage in the practice of acupuncture. In this case, the business of acupuncture, we're talking about the naming of your acupuncture business or practice. Okay, so to begin this exercise, we want to come up with a completely made-up name. It's not in use by anybody, and it's reflective of the processes that you might need to go through to name your own practice. The first thing we're going to come up with is Compass Point Acupuncture. Now, you've probably come up with a name for your practice and your business, and keep it in mind, we'll use this as an example, but imagine as we're going along that you could do the exact same thing for the name that you've chosen. So why is the name of your practice important? Well, first it helps to sell your business. It lets people know what you do. And then the name makes you distinct from somebody else. And it creates your individual identity, yours as a practitioner and yours as a business. So, you're going into practice, maybe you're starting out after school, maybe you've been employed by somebody else, maybe you're making a go of it on your own, and you come up with this great name, and you want to use it in business, and you start using it in business. And then you find out somebody owns a trademark or they're already using the name. What if you got it wrong? Well, there are penalties there. Somebody can sue you. They can seek injunctive relief to make you stop using it and keep you from stop using it. You can require to turn over your profits to them for everything that you've made using that name. Other damages, including the possibility of treble damages or triple damages, and they can seek attorney's fees and costs. So your best bet is to start out, if you have a name in mind for your practice, start looking around. Do the legwork now to find out whether or not it's even a good idea or a possibility. In our example today, we're going to go through the process in the state of Maryland. We'll look at the state corporation and the fictitious registration database first, and this is the URL that you'll want to use if you're looking at Maryland. Your state may have an equivalent. You'll just need to search it online and come up with that for yourself if you're not using Maryland. But this is the URL, and I'll give you a moment to copy that down. Again, keep in mind that it will also be part of the webinar as it is recorded. Okay, so our first step is we want to go find out if there's any corporations or any businesses already using this name. So in this case, we go to the Department of Assessments and Taxation webpage, and we want to look into the name search. So let's go in and we'll search acupuncture. Find out if anybody's using acupuncture, if that's something that's even available. Well, the first thing we find out is there are quite a few uses of the term acupuncture. What you want to find out too is whether or not they're active or not. In this case, the term that's used here is active. These down here are either dissolved or forfeited, means they're not active. They may be available. Your task is to go out in the first step and find out whether or not your name is even available to begin with in your state. So you see that there are a variety of terms of acupuncture, and we're looking in our example at compass point acupuncture. So far, there's nothing that looks like compass point acupuncture comes up in just searching for acupuncture. So we want to extend the search a little further. So we go back to the search term, and we want to look up compass point this time. So we put in compass point and we search, and there are a wide variety of compass points being used throughout the state. Doesn't look like anything is being used specifically for acupuncture. Some of the uses of compass point apply to construction, embroidery, heating, beverages, so on and so forth. But it looks like nothing so far for compass point acupuncture in the searching for compass point. So the next step is to go back and search the entire term, the whole name of the business. In this case, compass point acupuncture as a whole. The search yields no results, meaning that nobody is using as a corporate name compass point acupuncture, and it doesn't look like there's any fictitious registrations for the name compass point acupuncture. So that'll take us to our next step, and we want to look to see if anybody has this as a registered trade name or service mark in the state. And you'll, of course, want to look at your own state for this as well. Take a moment for that URL, keeping in mind that it will be part of the recording. Okay, so we go into the website, in this case the Secretary of State. We go over to Search, and we come up with the Search Trademarks database. Now there are mark names, descriptions, services. You might want to look under all of them, but in this case we're going to look under service. Our concern today is simply acupuncture. So let's find out if acupuncture is being used in trademarks and services. So we find that there are a couple uses, and we turn to how are they being used. In this case we have point well taken, really not even close to compass point acupuncture, and then there's a turning point, probably not even close to compass point acupuncture. So it might be an indicator that it might be a little safer to use, but we're not done yet. We also want to go in and look at the compass part of compass point acupuncture. So we see that there are several registrations, but these apply to software and consulting services. So in terms of compass point acupuncture, there doesn't seem to be any red flags as of that point. So then we get to the big one, the federal trademarks. These are businesses or people that have filed for protection with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and these cover the entire country. Once somebody owns this mark, nobody else can use it on a federal level, so in interstate commerce and in all the states. All right, so the first step is we go to the USPTO website. We want to look under trademarks, and we want to look under trademark search. Then we go into the test system, the trademark electronic search system, and we want to go into the basic word mark search. You'll pull up this screen, and in the space there, in this case we'll search the term acupuncture. We want to find out if anybody is using the term acupuncture, if it's already taken for what we want to use. We see that there are a wide variety of uses of the term acupuncture. In this case with the red arrow, you see that one is live. You may also see some that are dead. Live means somebody is using and actively possesses that trademark. If it's dead, that's been forfeited and is available. In this case, we see nothing in terms of the acupuncture use that comes into compass point acupuncture. So we'll want to extend the search and then go into compass point. Let's find out if there's anything in there. Compass point as well has a wide variety of uses in businesses, but nothing that looks like it's related to the practice of acupuncture. So then we want to go in and search the entire term and find if there's compass point acupuncture as a whole being used. Tess says that there are no records for that. So this would be your first step to say there are no red flags in using this term. It's okay as a state corporate name. It's not a state trademark. It's not covered under federal trademark, and there are no fictitious business names registered under that. So all of those things should say to you that that business is probably pretty safe to use as a name. But you're not done there. You don't want to stop. You've done your due diligence to say it looks like it's okay, but you want to be absolutely sure. If you come up with a name that you find that there are trademarks that sound kind of like it, or a business name that's sort of like it. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck for these purposes. Come up with a name that's unique and original and doesn't infringe upon somebody else's name or their copyright or their trademark or their possession. Once you've gone through the due diligence of this exercise here, you might want to contact a trademark attorney. There are several very good ones that operate on a nationwide basis that you can look up at the internet, and their services shouldn't cost you more than about $100 to $200. Engage the services of a trademark attorney to have them go out and look at the name to find out if it's safe to use. If you use the name and it's not safe to use, somebody could sue you for it. You could print up all of your business cards, letterhead, put out a storefront, find out it's not usable, then you have to destroy all of that material. The best bet is take your time and go out in the first steps and look through these sources and see if the name looks safe. Then go to a professional, have a trademark lawyer look at the name and find out whether or not it's safe. It's well worth the investment in your time. Going to court can cost you your entire practice. The best bet is do it, have it searched out. If your trademark attorney comes back and says it looks like it's a good, clean name, get an opinion letter and go from there with your practice. I hope that this has been beneficial to you today, the webinar on safely naming your practice. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them now through the webinar portal. All right, we have one question on what is a DBA. What do they mean by that? That is an acronym for doing business as. If you're engaged, generally speaking, in business using your own name, your Jane Doe Acupuncture, people know who they're dealing with. They know who the principal is. Acupuncture by Jane Doe. They're very straightforward. Compass Point Acupuncture doesn't tell us who the owner or the principals or things like that are. We don't know how to track that name down should there be a need for intervention later on. So the law requires that if you're using a name other than your own, that you register it with the state so that that information is discernible. A DBA may also be called a trade name or a fictitious business name or things of that nature, those terms. Depending on what your state is, look it up. Most states have a general business guide that will help you and guide you to the appropriate place to find out those registrations that do occur. So I think that answers the what is a DBA. If we have any other questions, please submit them now. It looks like we have no more questions, so I'm going to end the webinar. And thank you for joining us on Safely Naming Your Practice.